let's go. Alrighty.
All right. Welcome to the pod, bro.
Let's go. Alrighty, what's the topic this week?
Not welcome to the pod. Well, welcome to the pod, but this is the first episode, so.
Alrighty, ready to go.
Here we go, dude.
Alright.
Should we do intros or should we just...
Okay.
How are we going to do this? I told you, bro. I told you in the beginning it's going to be awkward, bro.
It's fine. Okay. You introduce yourself first. Tell us where you're from and what your name is.
Okay,
Just go basic, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm Eddie. I'm from the U.S. The East Coast, like near Virginia and New York. And I moved to Sydney actually about like 2 years ago and for work. And then I met Jeremy at a run club recently. And
Work?
What?
Keep going.
Yeah, for work.
For work? Yeah, keep going.
What, the American accent?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I met Jeremy at run club, and well, we kind of hit it off, and we have like a lot of similarities and also differences in experiences.
That sounds like we're dating, bro.
We kind of are, dude.
Keep going.
We kind of are, bro.
Alright, keep going.
Anyways,
we're pretty compatible.
We're homies, and we yap a lot and about cool stuff that we figured we might as well film and share with the world because, you know,
we love it.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people relate to this stuff, and we're still figuring out exactly what we're going to talk about, but
still growing.
And exactly what the name of the pod is at the time.
Yeah,
of filming.
we don't even have it yet, but we're just going.
Yeah, we'll figure it out though. So I don't know. That's a little about me. You'll learn more about me, obviously.
Cool.
To sum it up, bro. American, moved to Sydney.
Yeah.
Used to work in finance.
Yeah.
Runs a small software business.
6'5", blue eyes.
6'5", blue eyes. Exactly.
Alrighty, cool.
All right, you go.
All right. Well, my name's Jeremy. I'm from Sydney, Australia. We are missing one member today, but that's all right. We're gonna.
You'll meet her next week.
You'll meet her soon.
We added a girl just to create some diversity.
Yeah, that's it.
We're like, we can't be cultured as like just two male guys talking about masculine perspective.
No, we can't do that. So you'll meet our feminine counterpart in the following episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right.
You didn't introduce yourself, bro.
What? No.
You just said I'm Jeremy, and we're missing one member of the.
Okay, I'm Jeremy. I'm from Sydney, Australia.
You know what'd be fun though is if you introduced me and I introduced you.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You want me to go?
How would you describe me, bro?
我叫何爱迪。
That's true. That's actually a critical part of my introduction that I forgot to mention. I've been so whitewashed that I didn't.
我来自黑宝。
Bro, our audience is gonna be like English speakers, bro. Only a few will know.
I'm just trolling.
Okay,
I'm still trying to get comfy with the mic, bro. This is.
It's true.
I'm feeling a bit nervous, you know.
Honestly,
gotta settle into it.
Honestly, like the first 30 seconds of turning the mic on, it was definitely a little bit weird. But now I'm kind of feeling comfortable.
You feeling comfy? Okay, let me.
In this like style.
I need a bit of time.
I'm talking to the camera, but I'm also talking to you.
Yeah. Okay. I need a bit of time.
Okay.
It's all right. It's the first one.
All right. Let's start by you.
Okay.
You introduce me. I'll introduce you. That's a good one. Yeah, I'm serious.
Am I saying I'm you?
I just want to know what you think about me.
Okay.
I just want to know what your perception of me is.
I didn't know this was a dating show.
Bro, this is just my long-winded way of the way to test.
Okay.
To test if you really know me.
Okay. I'm ready. Okay. I'm gonna be you. Okay.
Okay.
Hey everyone. What's up, y'all? My name's Eddie He. I'm from Blacksburg, Virginia. I went to Vanderbilt, studied maths and with a major in computer science. And, I was living my parents' dream in New York for a year doing finance, but, I fucking hated it. So I got my bonus. Then I got out of there and I moved to Ecuador. Then I went to Tanzania, did a bit of traveling. Now I'm in Australia and I'm really loving it. So, I'm about that Bondi lifestyle.
All right, folks. I was about the Bondi lifestyle. Pretty close actually. I would say like accent, like 90% accuracy of my life, like
we're still working on it.
80%.
We're still working on it. We've actually only met like 9 times. This is like the 10th time we met or something. We're just like, yo.
I didn't know we were keeping count, but okay. All right, fair enough.
Alrighty.
Okay, if I'm gonna introduce Jeremy.
Okay, I'm ready.
I would say like laughs a lot, touches you a lot.
Whoa! Don't take that one out of context.
Has been through the white banana Asian transformation.
Wow. Okay, we going there. Okay.
And now he's at the end of the tunnel, and and just a great time,
Just a great time, bro.
Just a great time, bro. We just a lot of laughs.
We love to chop it up. Okay. All right. Cool.
Okay.
Well,
Getting on to business. Getting on to business.
Let's get some hydration. Everyone remember to hydrate, bro. Hydration nation.
Some water through what kind of cups are these again? I don't know.
Good ass Nate, bro. All right, we're ready to go.
Okay, you've been saying that for 20 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, where are you going with
I'm
this?
ready to go. Okay.
Okay,
Let's start with our topic for the week.
Okay, go. What is our topic? For the
Okay,
week?
so topic of the week is Mother's Day. Obviously, Mother's Day was last Sunday. Me and Eddie have different experiences, but do you want to start with your kind of? Do you want to start?
I mean, like, what went down on Mother's Day for me?
Yeah. Just give us a small recap, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Okay, I mean, let's see, Mother's Day. So much to unpack right now. I mean, okay, like, I think,
We
like...
can unpack it, but...
No. Like, okay, like, it's funny because I was thinking about this. Like, my Mother's Day experience is so... And I don't know if yours is different, too, but, like, I don't know, like, you see on Instagram, like, all these girls and, like, guys just posting about, like, oh, I took my mom to, like, a spa and, like, you know, the best mom ever and, like, you know... It might be true to some extent, but I bet y'all have your problems too, and it's so curated to some extent. But like, I don't know, for me, like my mom and I like I have a really great relationship, but it has its ups and downs. And like right now, it's been kind of near the down. And I was like, oh, it's Mother's Day. Like I need to call my mom. Like I guess I will call her. And it like went okay in the beginning, but basically recently, like my mom like just hasn't really like been about kind of like the lifestyle choices that I've chosen ever since I've chosen to quit my job in finance in New York, take a sabbatical, move to Sydney. Like she's actually really understanding a lot of this stuff, but sometimes it's just like I push her a little too much, you know?
Yeah.
Like she's so used to the traditional Asian, you know, be a doctor, like stable family, like that kind of stuff.
You know what they say, bro? It's doctor, lawyer, or failure, bro. Come on, man.
See, that's the strict Tiger Mom stuff.
Yeah,
my mom
it
is
is.
actually pretty chill. She's like, okay, like she's also an entrepreneur herself. Like she's like, I understand that desire to start a small business, and all that stuff. I think, long story short, at the end of the day, like she is just really impatient, or she's not okay with uncertainty, just lying around, right? So it's like my son's future is uncertain. Like, what's the quickest way I can make it more certain?
Yeah, bro. And you need to have already one house and 2 investment properties, man. Like, dude,
honestly, bro,
you're working too slow, man.
It's
like,
true.
come on, bro.
It's
like,
true.
27 is like your life is over, bro. Like, come on, man. Like, dude, like. You might not live another day, bro. So like,
It's true, bro. It's true. She sees some kind of prophecy, bro. Just like
she wants you hustling, man. She watched Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent, and she wants that on you, bro. No, that's fair.
Yeah,
Okay.
and like, she just kind of really rushed. And I think, like, I'm not rushed. And then so, long story short, phone call always ends up going to some kind of conversation about, like, my career. And, like, she wants to help me, like, you know, buy another business or, like, do something with my career or bring it back to the U.S. or just something that, like, she thinks is in my benefit, but I think is, like, a distraction and, like, not what I want. But then I'm like, oh, I want to make my mom happy and not sad. So I'm like, should I, appease her wishes sometimes? And then I'm like, when I, like, appease her wishes, I'm like, bro, like, am I being manipulated here? Like,
do you feel like you're betraying
like,
yourself in a way? Like you're not living true to yourself.
Well, that's my goal, right? Is to
Okay.
live true to myself.
Yep.
But at the same time, like every kid wants to be, validated by their parents. Subconsciously or consciously. And I try
100%.
my best to live the life that I want to live.
Yep.
But then, like, when my mom says she tells me she's sad because I'm not doing that, I'm like, bro, like, I feel really shitty. Like, subconsciously, I'm gonna start like making decisions that help prioritize making her happy. And then I'm like veering away from the life that I did want because what I want is like in conflict to what makes her happy, unfortunately.
Do you think she just, regardless of the lifestyle that you live or the life that you want, if she just knows that you're happy, she'd be okay with the decisions? Or do you think it's like you need to satisfy these metrics and like, it's a framework that she has in her mind, right? It's like her vision of success for you is, as you're mentioning, like, having a house and then, getting married and then, going through all these milestones that society kind of puts upon us. And it's like, this is what the vision of a young adult looks like, of a successful young adult looks like.
Right.
Do you think that's something that, like, let's say you're like, oh, actually, I don't want to do that. I want to be a digital nomad, or I want to just like, enjoy my 20s and then my 30s and, do all these different kinds of things, and it still satisfies you. Do you think at the end of the day, she would just be like, still happy for you? Or do you think in her mind, she's like, no, I need my son to satisfy these metrics of success in order for me to be happy?
Yeah, I think she, at the end of the day, at the very, very end of the day, I think she just wants me to be happy.
Yep.
But in her mind,
Yep.
there's a few ways to do that.
Okay.
Right? And like the path to doing that
Yep.
and what happiness means for her
Yep.
are different than what it actually is for me.
Yep.
And so, like, for example, like one of the things that kind of hit me on her call on Mother's Day was like, she was basically like, oh, like, you're not ambitious anymore.
Yep.
And in my head, I was like, I didn't say it at the time because I couldn't bring the words up. But after I thought about it, I was like, I am ambitious.
Yep.
I'm just ambitious for the life that I want,
Yep.
not the life that you think society want. Like, society is defined as really successful, right? I'm ambitious for like my friendships, my relationships, like my adventures, you know, my career in certain ways and they all balance together, right? But she's like, you know, what does ambition mean to her? It's like how much money you make, what's your career, social status, and that's what like is in conflict to some extent, right? So like, if she like knew that I was truly happy, like, would she be happy? Yeah, but our definitions are different, and she probably won't come around until like, you know, I don't know until when. I think what I was telling one of my friends is that like what it'll take to kind of like finally like not like get her off my back, but for her to like realize that like everything will be fine is like some outcome from me that like somewhat satisfies it, right? So if I like end up selling Raffle Link for like, you know, a couple $1 million and like have a lot of money, I end up like, you know, marrying this girl, like, you know, we have like a house, like this will, I mean, I think this will all happen eventually.
Yeah.
But
on your own timeline, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then she'd be like, okay. Like it all ended up working out. So maybe he was right. But then it's like, bro, like they're kind of implicitly betting on me failing. Right?
Why do you think that?
No. Because if they're like, hey, the way you choose to make your decisions is going to not lead to these outcomes. Okay. You know, house, whatever, family, whatever. Then, sorry. If the way you make the decisions is not going to lead to them. So then if they do lead to them, they'll be like, oh, I was proven wrong. So implicitly, they're basically betting that the way I choose to make my decisions is going to fail. Or is going to lead to outcomes that I don't think are correct, which also I don't think are like desirable. Which also is like fine for me, right? I'm not an outcomes kind of person. I'm like a very inputs person. Like I think a lot of variations of life that, you know, end up happening to me, I can be really grateful for and really happy for. It doesn't need to be that like house family thing. I think I do want those things, but like, you know, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and like I still be happy. You know, happiness perspective.
Do you think that like that kind of only seeing success from a monetary perspective? Like obviously, I feel like it's hard for someone who grew up in poorer socioeconomic circumstances than us being the next generation to kind of understand that, like, you know, there's wealth in relationships.
Right.
There's wealth in having hobbies.
Right.
You know, there's, you know, you can be, you know, be rich in the sense of like, not monetarily, but rich in your experiences.
Right.
But that's hard to kind of understand for people that, you know, come from a poorer background. You know, like my dad, my dad immigrated from Malaysia from like a really small country town. There was like only like 10,000 people, grew up without electricity. And, you know, they had to, like, two of his brothers had to ride 30 minutes, like ride their bike to the rubber plantation and like, you know, get out all the stuff before they went to school. And it's like, you know, for people of that generations, it's really hard to understand, you know, like money is everything.
Work hard,
right?
baby. Work hard.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you got to get that white picket fence. You know, you got to get that dollar. But, you know, do you think she's like, do you think that's just like her being like, okay, this is my vision of success and I want it for Eddie or I want it for Sarah?
So you're totally right, bro. Because my dad actually the same way. My dad, you know, had the classic like, I lived in like, you know, a super rural like, like, you know, place, super poor, and
from
like
the streets of Xinjiang.
Yeah, bro. He's even embarrassed to say sometimes. Like,
okay,
don't
that's
all
right.
Xinjiang, bro. Okay. Like, it's like super poor, right?
We'll cut that.
Yeah, you can cut that if you want, but I think it's probably fine.
It's fine.
Anyways, so like, you know, he had the same classic story where he like studied, you know, got out, went to America, had his family, whatever. He's like, I did all of this for
you guys,
great life. And for, you know, like, so, but for him, bro, what I think is like super different from my mom and dad, is that is like survival, right? Like they needed to like make money to survive, right? They were living 100%. On like, you know, if they didn't study and work hard.
Yep.
You know, they were in conditions that like where you couldn't enjoy relationships, you couldn't enjoy happiness because your general basic needs weren't being met.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know?
Right.
There's still a lot of. I feel like, especially with my parents, it's like, and my dad, it's like he's kind of been in survival mode like his whole life.
Right.
It's just like he's still at the bottom where it's like he feels like, you know, I think everyone has a different number in their mind in terms of like how much money they need in order to be financially secure or just be safe, you know? And I feel like my dad has just kind of been at that for most of his life. I guess we're kind of going off topic here, but we'll bring it back. What I wanted to kind of say is like, do you feel like maybe your parents are kind of projecting that level of like financial safety, what they need, onto you, and then kind of holding you to their standards of it?
Yeah, it's weird to think about, right? Because they obviously know that like our standards are different, right? Like I told them all the time, I'm like, hey, I'm so privileged that like worst case scenario, I can't find a job, like I'll come move home and I still have a shelter over my head and food to feed. And like, you know, we have so many, like I know my parents are like save, like, you know, like worst case scenario is like a very good scenario. So I'm like, why don't I try to like, you know, take some risks and go for something? And like to them, it's like, oh, well, like if we are prioritizing money and stability, why are you not also prioritizing those things? And to like, and that point becomes excessive. They're like excessively prioritize money and stability at the compromise and trade-off of everything else.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like they're kind of just like taking what they prioritize and just like pushing it and assuming that's what we should prioritize, even if it's like an excessive amount. Right. Because they don't understand the conditions have changed. So maybe we need to prioritize something else. So, because it's just a worldview, right? Their whole worldview is just determined by like, you know, and it totally makes sense why they prioritized
it's their experience.
Right.
Growing up.
So it totally makes sense. They just can't jump into our feet and our shoes and be like, oh, maybe they should prioritize something different. You know, it's just like, yeah. So I think like, you know, it's nobody's fault of their own. And I think it's actually quite a common thing I think happens across, you know, kids our age, especially with the Asian traditional families and stuff like that.
I think definitely universally, like across people who are first generation born in like maybe a new country that their parents have immigrated to. I know I definitely have that experience, but yeah, I guess it depends, you know, because it can kind of vary from person to person. Yeah, with that being said, I think like...
But I mean, yeah,
you go.
Well, I was just going to say I mean, like, your situation's a little different too, in the sense that like, I met your mom, she's super chill. Your dad seems to be more on the traditional side. But at the same time, you said that you had that pressure growing up, but you also like kind of like veered off from a pretty early age. Yeah, for sure. So, like I think like... I veered off a little bit later. You know.
When do you think you kind of veered? Like, was it more after quitting your finance job?
Exactly, yeah. After I was working for a couple of years, and then I also had built up savings, right? So I'm like financially independent, and I'm like, you know, living kind of on my own. Whereas I think maybe, are you still?
Yeah. Obviously, I'm still at home at the moment. I think my situation was a little bit different because like my parents like separated pretty young, and I think like, you know, my dad wasn't there like in the picture, and so I kind of had that rebelliousness in me from an earlier age. And that kind of manifested in different things throughout my high school. But for you, do you feel like you were kind of in that traditional role of like, not traditional role, but like as in, obviously did you want to study and kind of excel academically on your own accord, or was that something that you felt your parents kind of pushed upon you and you kind of just like that's how it happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely think like I think it was a little bit mixed, bro. Like, I think like my parent validation was one aspect of it. But also just social validation. Okay. Right. I was like, like I'm the smartest kid here. I'm going to the best school. Like I'm so good at this. Like, I mean, get some like social capital from all this stuff. And then also, you know, it doesn't hurt to go home and be like, like my parents. My kid. And then for them too, right? It's like, they're like, oh, my kid's so good at this. My kid's so good at that. And I think now, like, my dad even says, like, today, he's like, oh, like, sometimes I'm embarrassed to, like, talk about, like, people ask me, like, oh, what's your son up to? Like, my dad's like, oh, like, I don't really want to talk about it or something like that. Really? Yeah, and I'm like, you know, like, fuck you, bro. Like, sometimes.
But do you think that's from the perspective of, like, what do you think that stems from? Like, obviously, like, our viewers don't know, but Eddie's dad has a PhD. Right. And, you know, he obviously came through very hard experiences growing up in Xinjiang and then immigrating to America. And then, like, you know, did he do all his degrees in America or...
He did a couple in China, I think. Most of his PhD, he actually came for postdoc. So he did PhDs in China and then came for postdoc. Yeah. So he like, you know, one of my best friends in the US, he's like a physics PhD at MIT, and like my dad thinks it's so cool, and like you know that's super respected.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, like you start and run your own like you know small business that doesn't you know that does like a less than $1 million a year in revenue. It's like,
damn.
what do you know?
Yeah.
You could brag about that.
Yep.
But it's like, oh, the kid who does like you know a physics PhD at MIT is like,
okay.
What his version of like
I guess his
right?
perspective is like that of an academic, right? So it's like, you know, maybe he kind of looks like, even though you are successful in your own respect in different ways to the ways he sees it, like maybe his is just like, you know, the higher educational attainment is more success.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of theorizing. Obviously, I've never met your dad or spoke to your dad before. But yeah, obviously both points are valid. But like, I don't think you're a failure in any way. Obviously, like you're successful, like you have, you know, you're working full time and you have like you're running your own thing. But it's like,
yeah, I mean, like again, like we're veering off big here, but like failure is like, it's in the eye of the beholder, bro. Like what is failure if like you did grow up in like a farm in Xinjiang and like you didn't like, are you failure if you know didn't leave or like you know like what does that even mean? Like it's
sure.
all like we all have different starting points in life. We all have different skills. We all have different like external events and chaos that lead to certain paths and trajectories of our life. And like well, what it really is failure, right? Like I was also thinking like my dad, like right, he of his 3 brothers, like, he and his siblings, he did make it out and he's like considered the most successful and like does live a really well life, whatever.
Living in Xinjiang.
They're all living in Xinjiang.
Okay.
And I would bet, and I would tell my dad, I was like, they're also probably pretty happy. Like they have kids and children, and like they live like you know normal lives, and like you know they go exercise, they have fun with the community, and like all that stuff, right? It's important, and like maybe like honestly, they're happier than you, who's like kind of like hustling to like prove himself at age 67 to like the academic community.
Okay,
you know, it's like
no, I see you.
Let's see, dude. Yeah, like you live in the USA, and like you have like this house, or whatever. They live in like China and they have an apartment and like work as an oil field engineer or something. And like, I don't know, like, you know, like why are we comparing lives first of all? But then it's like, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. It doesn't really matter as long as like you're
happy with your,
exactly.
Your version of
I think
success,
comparisons are like completely illogical. Like when people compare, Eliza, my mom does that all the time. She's like, she also implicitly does that, right? She implicitly does that by saying, oh, you're not ambitious. That just means you're not as ambitious as other people. And she compares, you know, like your life versus like, your sisters, or like what it could have been. And I'm like, what's the point in all these comparisons? First of all, it just makes no sense. And then second of all, it's just like,
With that being said, I wanted to kind of quote, like, obviously there's that famous quote by Theodore Roosevelt. It's like, comparison is the thief of joy. But with that being said, I feel like it's so within our human nature to compare. Right? We're social beings. We're meant to, you know, live in groups. And, you know, that's how it's kind of been throughout history. And, you know, we're just kind of wired to be social with one another. You know, obviously back in the olden days, in the hunter-gatherer days, it's like, you know, if you weren't able to provide in some kind of way to the tribe, or like you weren't able, you know, it's like you're going to kind of be outed, right? And so I think it's very normal to feel that comparison and be like, okay, like where am I in the social standing? And kind of want to seek to improve your life in a way that betters yourself.
That's true.
In that social standing. But at the end of the day, right, it's like everyone operates under a different psychology. And, you know, what one person, it's so cliche, but it's like, there's that old saying, it's like, one man's trash is another man's treasure. It's like, you know, one person might be not doing as well financially, but they might have kids that, you know, really great kids that really fulfill them, and, you know, like love in their life in different ways that, let's say, I'll just take an example. So I have one of my dad's friends. He doesn't have any kids. He's about the same age as my dad, like mid-60s, like 60s. But he's traveled like to like 60, 70 countries.
Sure.
And so, you know, obviously he's made that sacrifice of being able to travel, you know, to a lot of places, but it's like at the expense of having kids, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so, you know, I guess it's kind of cliche. A lot of people kind of say that, like, you know, kids are like, you know, I guess the light of their life, and like, you know, just changes their world perspective in so many ways. But yeah, it's just like kind of what is that opportunity cost of, like, even if you were to, you know, you were talking about Elon Musk, like, you know, how your parents are kind of like, they don't understand that, you know, the level of sacrifice it takes to be someone like Elon Musk, or someone who's just exceptional in their field, at the top of their field. You know, there's a lot of other things within life that they don't get to experience, and you know, they don't have balance, and you know, they ultimately feel that payoff in terms of their health and their relationships and their hobbies and so forth. You know, it's I guess it's kind of one of those things where it's to each their own.
I know. I mean, like, even like Musk, I think might have said this, or maybe it was Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, but he was just like, somebody was like, oh, like, would you, knowing everything that you've been through and what it took to make NVIDIA like what it is today, like, would you do it again? And he was like, not a chance. Or he was like, it like basically like just took so much like effort and like sacrifice that like it's not for the sane person.
Yeah.
Like you need to be insane a little bit. And it's kind of like a curse, right? Like
to be that level of ambition. Yeah.
To be that level of like kind of insane. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you are like holding up.
Yeah.
And like, you know, like in your whatever, like you're basically like to some level of like insanity where you're so committed to this one endeavor, which is like super beneficial for society. So they're doing something great, and like
if they're doing something great,
exactly, at the sacrifice of their own well-being to some extent. And like people don't understand, like the normal life is in my opinion, and perhaps like could be arguable, like the better life, right?
Yeah, a lot, richer
and just like the comparison thing, right? Like for example, let's just take like that one example, right? Your dad's friend who like travels but doesn't have kids, right?
Yeah.
It's so silly, right? Let's take that example itself, right? It's like, all right, let's compare lives. Your friend, like your dad's friend is Mark, and your dad's name is let's give him an English name. What's your dad's name?
Well, he does have an English name. Should we use his real name or not?
Up to you, bro.
We'll use an alias. Let's call him Bobby.
Bobby. All right.
Bobby. Okay.
So Bobby is Jamie's dad.
Yeah.
And Jamie's dad's friend is Mark.
Yeah.
And Bobby's like, oh, my life is better than Mark. Like, I have a child. And then Mark is like, oh, well, I got to travel a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then, like, I make more money. Oh, well, like, you started, your family was born in a richer area. Oh, well, I'm taller. Mm-hmm. It just becomes a fucking, like, massive, like, complex web of,
Who's better? Who's more superior?
And then it's like, oh, you're better at certain things, but I'm better at other things. And it's like, oh, which one is more valuable? And it's just like, what is the point of all this, bro? Like, 100%. You're so insecure that you need to compare, like, every little piece of data about your life that you can, like, eventually feel like you have lived a better life than somebody else. No, like, it really makes no fucking sense. And, like, when people start, like, comparing, like, you know, lives and stuff like that, and, like, to that minute detail, I'm like, this is just such an insecure and futile exercise. Like, that simple example right there just, like, ends up, this is the reason why I think like comparisons is like so dumb. Like, okay, I'm better than you at bouldering. Okay, you're probably better at something else. Right. And I probably spent more time at bouldering, or like, when I spent more time at bouldering, I probably spent less time on my career. So maybe your career's better than mine. Like, to each their own, bro. Like, you know, choose the trade-offs you want. There are going to be trade-offs for every decision you make. If you spend more time bouldering, you're probably gonna spend less time on your career, and you might not have as much money, but you have that experience. You know, like. Choose the one you want, and then the comparison becomes futile. Right?
Well, I guess it becomes a question of like, once you get to the end of your life, right? What do you value? You know, some one person may value, you know, more rich experiences traveling to different countries, different cities, whereas another one might just be, you know, being able to spend time with their kids and watch them grow up and see them be successful, and then kind of like live vicariously through them. And it's like, pick your poison.
Well, it's also just like, bro, like, even like, let's say like Mark like did want kids, and he thinks that having kids would be like a more meaningful and fulfilling feature of his life as compared to traveling. So he would have given up traveling for like having kids and stuff. Let's say like the circumstances of his life and the way things ended up like didn't permit that, right? Like didn't find his partner, like I don't know, was infertile or something. And like, you know, couldn't have kids and couldn't adopt either, and just like what do you want him to do? Like feel like shit because he didn't have kids and your life is better than his? Like, what's the point in like in thinking that way, right? Like even okay, if you're Bobby, you're gonna be like a huge dick if you try to like make him feel that way, right? Or if you're Mark, it's like if you think that way, you're just gonna live in a state of like helplessness and regret, right? So instead, like, oh yeah, I get the silver linings and I get to like live with this type of life, right? So. No matter what, like if something like doesn't work out the way you think it does, like you want it to or it should, like there's really like it's unproductive, like comparison wise for yourself and for you to compare yourself to other people to like kind of like, you know, like mourn on it to some extent, right? It's like,
what's the point?
It's like life goes on.
Yeah.
Life goes on, and it's like. And it's just like, how do you view it?
Yeah.
Right. You can view it as, like I like, God did not give me the power to have kids. And, my life is so much shittier than Mark's. And, I'm going to be really upset about that and like, compensate in some way and like fuel my life to like, go travel a ton to like prove him wrong or something.
This is theoretical. I'm pretty sure like he just chose not to.
Oh, right.
Yeah, chose not to. Have
right,
kids,
exactly.
But
so like
in this situation.
Yeah, so it's either like your preferences or it's like sometimes maybe like you would prefer something else, but it's like it doesn't happen for you, and it's like okay, life goes on, and like you can take advantage of that opportunity and create something new, right?
What are your thoughts on not having kids?
On not having kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do think like I want kids, and I think that like. It's probably the most meaningful relationship that you'll ever have that's ever possible. And I think that relationships are like a very key, maybe if like not the most important part of like my life. And I think like from what I've seen, like research and studies, like it should be like the most important thing in any human's life, right? And the most meaningful relationship with the kid, right? Because it's like maybe like above that or second to or equal to like your mother and father, right? Because like they're born into your hands and like not only biologically but situationally, like they're there from you from the very start, and like they rely on you and like connect with you and like in a way that like is not possible with any other relationship, like with a friend, with the girlfriend, with your partner, with your sister. Like that relationship is different than the one with your child. And so it's extremely unique, and I think it's extremely meaningful. And so I think that's like worth the initial burdens of like early childcare. I feel like to say like it's an investment in the front, and then like it pays off
expensive.
Well, not even like investment in time, health, like energy, whatever, and then they pay off in the end where it's like, they're taking care of you and stuff like that. And then,
Okay.
But even the experience itself of like having to like work hard and like sacrifice for a child is meaningful. Yeah, exactly. So the journey I think is fun. And it will be fun. And I think
definitely hard for sure as well.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm not too sure. I guess right now like it's something where I do want to have kids. Theoretically, but it also matters the person that I meet. I think it's like, ideally, you want to meet the right partner. I don't necessarily agree with, this concept of the one, just, saying that there's only one person for you. I think like you can be compatible with a number of different people. But I just going through my experiences with, my parents and them divorcing and stuff. I think it's something where, I tread pretty carefully. It's not something that I would want to. Obviously, no one gets into a marriage wanting to be divorced, right?
Right.
And so it's something where me and my sister's experience, and our whole experience of our childhood, post divorce, and that kind of thing. It's something where I would want to think very carefully before having a kid, and kind of feel like there's no guarantee. Right, but feel like I know with all of my heart that this is the right person.
Because you think like the kid would be traumatized if like
100%, 100%. It's important. The upbringing that they have, and that's a lifelong relationship. If you have kids with someone, it's like obviously in theory there are some people. Unfortunately, it's really sad that they don't grow up with maybe a mom or a dad because of XYZ reasons. But it's something that I personally think that you need to consider very carefully, because let's say you guys divorce, you're still going to have a relationship with that person for the sake of your kids. And so it is something that is important to me, especially going through the kind of childhood that I've had, to make sure that you think that, I guess, that person is a fit for you.
Yeah.
That's kind of a weird way to describe it. It sounds like I'm describing a shoe fitting, but you get the point. As in, they're compatible and yada yada yada. Because
so maybe get a dog first.
Yeah, definitely you can start there.
No, I'm
you
serious.
Can start
I feel like a lot of people it's a good test.
Yeah, it's a good test. No, 100%. Yeah.
And
I think that's quite common. To
get a dog first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of you got to
okay.
Clean up.
If I know you're saying it right now, but if you were in a relationship and you got your partner pregnant very early on at this age.
Okay.
I mean, I assume you'd probably want to abort it.
Right now?
Yeah. You wouldn't want the child.
I think from the perspective of finances, it would be wise to abort it. Obviously, no one, abortion is a very controversial topic.
Right.
And, there's like, people pro-life, some people against life, blah, blah, blah. I think that's a very serious discussion that I would have to have with my partner.
I always like to say, like, I'm getting to the age where, like, the whole abortion thing aside, like, politically, like, I mean more like this is more of a question relevant to, like, are you ready to have kids?
Right.
And I'm getting closer to the age. I'm not there yet, like so far. But if I'm on the spectrum of, like, 1 to 100, like, like, I used to be, like, like, not a chance. Like, if I got a girl pregnant, like, it's, like, not a chance. Like, we can abort.
Yeah.
And now I'm, like, if it's the one, like, like, would you want to keep it? Like, I wouldn't be entirely opposed.
Okay,
but I'm getting close.
What is the kind of psychology behind that? Is it because you feel that you're getting to an age where it's like you should be having kids, or is it like no, like that's my child. I can't I can't abandon them, So, or is it like because there's a lot of factors here at play.
Well, I know. I guess I'm trying to isolate it. Like the example is definitely complex, but like I meant more of like, am I ready to want to have kids?
Okay.
And like I'm getting kind of closer. I mean, my sister just had a child, so it's like a little baby feeder.
But she is 7-8 years older than you.
Yeah, she's like 33, 34. Yeah. But it's like again, like I wouldn't try to have a kid.
Yeah.
But if a kid did pop up, 2 years ago I'd have been like 100% don't want kids.
Yeah.
Whatever. If we could abort, we could abort.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I'm open to a discussion about keeping this child, and it's just like representative of like, like I don't really know exactly what the roots of it are. I guess I'm just like, well, what's up?
Do you reckon we should bring that
on,
blinds?
Yeah, sure. We can give it a shot.
Let's go, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. What you finished? Nice. Intermission to get the lighting back up. Y'all should just roll through, bro. Y'all should just roll through.
Do you mind just checking the how it looks at the moment, Carol? Does it look alright?
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad?
A little bit dark.
Let me get that blind up
Like
too.
right now as well.
Yeah. You can jump up the lighting too. I mean, we're at like 37 minutes, so.
That's alright. We're rolling, bro. Just roll with it.
Ooh. Did you just turn those on automatically?
Is it sick right now?
No, it's gonna take it all the way out.
I think it looks good now.
What do you reckon,
Ooh,
Cal?
look at that view.
How is it?
That's sick.
Yeah? Okay. Let's go.
Should we get back on track or should we keep talking about this?
Up to you, bro. I mean, you want to go back to Mother's Day? We started talking about our dads, bro.
I know. We got off track really quick. Yeah, let's just go back to Mother's Day.
Okay.
I mean, I told you about my Mother's Day. It wasn't super eventful, and like my sister actually does a really good job of my sister cares a lot. She like sent my mother flowers and stuff like that, and said it's from
That's really
Sarah
nice.
and Eddie.
Yeah.
She didn't tell me about it, but
Yeah.
give
Just
some
add your
credit.
name to it.
Yeah, for sure. Which is like that's like
that's
like hero stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah, my sister does stuff like that as well. She obviously like, like obviously I'm in a period of unemployment at the moment. But yeah, she'll just like get the flowers and like, just like,
right.
This is from both of us.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Which is like super dope. My sister also knows that too. My sister like super well off, and she obviously like thinks about my mom a lot too, and does this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
Yeah. But wait, so how did your Mother's Day go?
Yeah, mine was obviously like we went to Canberra. Things were fine. Like we went to like this nice fancy restaurant that my sister booked out. But yeah, I guess one of the things where I don't know, I feel like the way my mum brings stuff up is just like at the worst times. You kind of know, like I was kind of living with our other podcast, like my cousin Zoe. For a bit, it's just like, and I was kind of backing. Basically, long story short, was like, I feel like she kind of brings up. She was just bringing up like this. So we have like 4 students that live in a house. Yeah. Just for rental income, and so like she kind of brought up the situation of the students of like, okay, like once this student moves out, like we want to kind of move this student who's on
Just roll through.
It's calm. Just go through. It's calm. It's calm. It's so calm. It's so calm. She's basically like, okay, like once this student moves out, we're gonna move one, like the student who's in the side room into that room, and then like get another student. Like, what are your thoughts?
Okay.
Like, I guess she kind of already knows that. Like, I mean, we have 4 students in there. I would ideally only like 2 in there. Like 2 of them I'm super close with. They took us around, like they're both from China. They took us around like when we were there. And I've known them for like over 5-6 years.
Okay.
And so like, we're not going to like, I have a good relationship with them. And so like, we're not going to kick them out. Like they're kind of part of the family.
Okay.
But like these other 2 students, you know, they haven't been there for that long. And, you know, I guess it's kind of something like, you know, I'd been having issues with sleep and stuff just because like one of them was kind of loud. And because like our walls are pretty paper thin. And he kind of like, I know he just like does work and he's got like, he's gaming and doing like kind of other random stuff, you know, like I feel like it's understandable, you know, my sleep's being impacted.
Okay.
And it's something that we're kind of like fighting over in the past, but yeah, I don't know, I guess my mom just kind of, I don't know why she kind of, maybe because my sister was there, you know, she wanted to kind of like just discuss it as a family.
Why is it relevant to your sister? She doesn't live there.
She doesn't live there, exactly, but like, I don't know, I guess my mom just kind of wants it to be like a...
Was it intentionally she brought it up, or was it just like on her mind and she just like accidentally brought it up?
I don't even know, man. Like, I feel like she does this, like, in the past, she's been like, I don't know, like, the timing is just, like, not there. And she would, like, bring it up when we were, like, there was this other time where we were at, like, K-barbecue, and then she brought up, like, this whole situation that was happening. I was like, you know, we could have talked about it at home. It's like, you know, we're having a nice meal. It's like, I just kind of want to enjoy the experience rather than talk about something that we've kind of been pushing off for a bit.
Did you ask her if we talk about it later? When she started talking
Yeah,
about
I was kind of like, I don't really want to talk about it right now. I'm just like, okay, like I understand, like you're upset about the situation and stuff.
And then you started talking about it?
Yeah, then we kind of like going into, yeah, exactly. And so obviously I was upset, and then like my mum was upset that I was upset, and then my sister was kind of trying to mediate and stuff. I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, it's like, it's, you know, I kind of like put on my social media, like, you know, I have a perfect, like, you know, a super close relationship with my sister and my mum, which I do, but obviously it's like in reality it's not always that.
For sure.
And so yeah, that was kind of like, I was just like, oh, like, you know, it was just a bit emotionally draining. Like this conversation definitely could have taken place at another time, but it's like, it's fine. Like we're working on it, and we're like, it's something.
So yeah, so it's not a matter of like the issue itself. Like the issue itself, you can resolve.
Yeah.
But the timing of the conversation.
Yeah, it's like we're trying to, like, it's Mother's Day and we want to have a nice day together, spending time together. And it's like, I feel like the topic, like, it's definitely something, it's like the elephant in the room. It's something that we need to discuss. But, it's something that we can discuss at a later time. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a deal was that? Like, did it ruin the night?
Well, we were having lunch. It was like, it kind of... put a stain in the mood. Like it was like, oh, okay, like, oh, okay.
How did it end?
Well, no, like we obviously embrace, like, obviously we know that, like, we all care about each other.
Right.
No one cares about me. I love her. She loves me. I love my sister, but like so forth and so
Right.
forth. But it's like, maybe it just wasn't, how do I describe it? It's just bad timing, you know. But like, I think my mum is of the opinion that like my sister should be involved in this conversation, even though like she doesn't live at home. But you know, we're a family unit, and so we should be resolving things as a family and talking about the situation as a family, which is understandable.
Yeah.
But it was just something where I was just like, man, like, you know, you already know how I feel about the students. Like, I don't even like, you know, I guess it's hard because we're trying to juggle between paying bills and, you know, kind of me being able to kind of keep my sanity in a sense, just because there is a lot of noise, and you know, the situation's definitely gotten a lot better.
But so when is the when is the right time to talk about it then? Like, did you talk to her after? Has it been resolved yet? Because if you're not going to bring it up yourself, then you can't blame her for bringing it up.
Yeah. Well, I think it's something that I haven't really been trying to proactively resolve. I think my mum's kind of like of the opinion that, you know, obviously best case scenario, 4 students in the house, yeah, most rental, most income, but it's like one of the rooms is right in our space where we are, and they share the same bathroom as us, and that's just not ideal for me. And it's like, you know, my mom's kind of trying to like, obviously she wants to have a second income, passive income, and just bring in as much as she can. And the heart, like, it's with good intention. She's looking out. She wants to save as much as she can for me and my sister so that we can, you know, buy property and, you know, be able to afford living in this economy. But I guess it's something like, you know, with that many students in the house, sometimes it can be like, it is unpleasant at sometimes because, like, especially if you don't talk to them and you don't really have a good relationship with them, it's like, yeah, it's just something hard to juggle.
Well, I know, but like, you didn't answer my question yet. Did you talk to her? Like, did you guys talk about it?
Well, I was kind of like, I would prefer if we just have once one student moves out and then the one who's on the side room moves into that the other room. I'd prefer if we just keep.
So you did talk about it. I'm talking about.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We did. I was just kind of like, I would prefer if we just keep 3 students in the house until I can sort out this employment situation, and then once I'm able to, you know, kind of
move out or whatever.
Move out,
yeah.
And you know, then from there, like, I'm happy for you to kind of have as many students as you want. But it's just something I would prefer while I'm still living there to, you know, just have.
Right. Okay. Like, issue aside, though, like, we're talking about the timing. Like, so, like, so was it resolved?
Like, partially, but it's something that is, you know, it's kind of still ongoing conversation because, like, obviously my mum would like still rather 4 students, but I'm just like, oh, you know, I'd rather if we just have 3.
It's actually kind of funny. Like, I can't really relate as much because, like, I don't know. Me and my parents have been in like such separation of like church and state for so long.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
when I moved out.
Yeah.
Like, there haven't really been any like discussions or topics that come up where I'm like, we need to like compromise in the middle somewhere because we're like, our lives are pretty like, independent.
Yeah.
Where I'm like,
I mean, you were gone, obviously, like, after you graduated high school, right? Moved to
Vanderbilt.
Tennessee. Is it Tennessee, Nashville?
Yeah, Tennessee.
Is it Nashville, Tennessee, or Tennessee?
Nashville, Tennessee, yeah.
Nashville's the state.
Nashville's the city.
Oh, Nashville's the city. Tennessee's the state.
Music city of the world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Country music, yeah.
Country music city of the world, yeah. I mean, like, even during Vanderbilt, right, I was still financially dependent, so there were, like, some discussions like, hey, can I join this fraternity? Like, will you pay the bills?
Yep.
Like, hey, I'm going to think about moving into, like, this, whatever. Decisions had to be approved and discussed with them. They're actually really flexible, which was extremely, you know, privileged for. But ever since I kind of started working on my own, like, and I stopped receiving financial, you know, dependency from them. And any sort of related thing, it's like I haven't really had like
that kind of compromise, like needing to.
Right. So then my parents wouldn't like, and even like, you know, when I was a kid, I think like. Like, I think in this situation, like, as a kid, like, I just, like, didn't really have much say either. My mom wanted to bring in, like, tenants and stuff. Like, they probably could have. And, like, I would have been like, hey, like, it's kind of annoying. But, like, they're like, hey, like, you got to deal with it. And, like, it's actually kind of nice that your mom was, like, even willing to have a discussion with you about it. Because at the end of the day, honestly, it's her house. Like, she probably could just do whatever she wants.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. You're right. It's like, I guess it's one of the things where it's like, it is her house. It's her rules. I'm living under her roof.
Yeah.
You know, I should be being as respectful as possible.
Right.
I guess one of those things where we're kind of like, you know, it's hard to navigate because, you know, I took some time off work because I was like not sleep. You know, I was just like not sleeping for like 3-4 days a week, like maybe like 4 hours a night, and it was just like, not an ideal situation. But no, you're right. I guess that's kind of where the line is drawn in terms of like, I feel that since my parents split, like, I haven't really had those kind of traditional values of like, you know, what mum and dad says go.
Ah, true,
like,
true.
She definitely had that with my grandparents, her parents. But it's something where it's like, I don't know, like me and her and my sister is like kind of, we're all equals, you know, we're all part of the family.
Right.
And it's like all of our opinions are valid and of equal validity. Whereas, because my dad's a lot more traditional, it's like, I mean, I don't even know because like my dad didn't even like really raise me. And so like, I can understand from your perspective of like, okay, your parents are together and it's like what Mama and Papa Ed, like he says goes, you know?
Right.
But we've just kind of, we didn't really have that. Like it was just,
right.
So
I will say like growing up, my parents have always been together, but in middle school, my dad went left to work at a job that was like far away. Basically, like he always wanted to be a professor.
Yep.
So he wanted to pursue like a 10-year professor track at a different job, but he wasn't like sure if he was going to stay there. So when I was in middle school, he left, and I lived with my mom by myself.
Yep.
And my sister. She was also in college. And then in high school, my dad got a job at Virginia Tech, and that's where we're from now. And then I moved there, and I lived with him. And then my mom couldn't really find employment, so she ended up going like to China and other stuff, like kind of pursuing her entrepreneurial endeavors and stuff. And so I lived with my dad without my mom. So I kind of lived with like each parent separately for these different stages of my life.
Okay.
Right. And I will say, like, in that situation, like, it was a lot easier for them to like bend the knee to me in any kind of like discussions or negotiations, especially my dad. My dad's kind of a sucker.
Okay.
And he's like, if we had like, you know, something I wanted and he like kind of was against or whatever, like he would, you know, just compromise in heavily favored in my direction.
Okay.
So there really wasn't much like, you know, discussion, like whatever either. Where it's like, when I was just like, I think it was like, because when you know the parents together, it's like kind of easy to have it's like a slight power dynamic as a child where it's like, hey, like they want your child to be happy. They don't want you to complain to your mom, like dad isn't taking care of me correctly.
Yep.
Or like, you know, mom complain to mom, be like, or complain to mom that dad isn't taking care of me correctly, right? Or whatever.
Okay.
So that also was like a thing for me kind of growing up where I never really had to like have like a serious discussion about like, oh, like, you know, compromise over this or that. It was like privileged enough to where my parents just be like, yeah, I guess, you know, whatever works for you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
That's good, right?
I don't know. Probably like,
Yeah. I mean, I guess it has its.
honestly, I always think like some of this stuff, like as a child, like just seeps into your life in ways that you don't even know as an adult. So maybe like the fact that I never had any like super big confrontation with my parents about stuff,
Yeah.
like led to like me being some kind of trait today. And I don't know if it's good or bad. Like you never know with this kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what makes parenting so complex, dude. I'm fucking so nervous about having
Kids.
like, I just like think about it and I'm like, oh, like in this, I'm like such a logical person. I'm like, oh, like I'm just gonna logic them into understanding like why to do certain things and why not to do certain things. But then my current, you know, partner, she's always like, it's not that easy. Like she works with a lot of kids. She's like an occupational therapist. And she's like, it's not that easy. Like kids just like don't think as logically as you do, and like it's every little thing that you do, they watch and like they become affected by, and like every little like, you know, whatever. So it's like such a complex project in some sense that like it's somewhat daunting, right? And it's the same thing with me, right? My parents, like every little thing that happened to them over the past the first 20 years of my life, like probably impacted me in some way, and I don't even know in which way it's possible today. So that's why I always like, your parents tried their best. That's like what I always like to say, you know?
Yeah. No, for sure. I think like, I mean, I guess you're not going to really know unless you go through some kind of like super deep like introspection or like
for sure, and like
or like, you know,
getting
those pathways.
Getting super deep to some extent. I'm always like, what's the purpose of getting like super? I think it's important to get like a little bit deep and like understand the big parts.
Okay.
But like getting like super deep kind of like starts to get like a little bit too complex to where it's like unproductive, I think.
Okay.
It's like you're trying to like correlate every little thing about your today into something in the past that like you know, like it's not that linear. It's not that like A to B. It's like so much more complex. Right. So I mean, like there's some extent, but
Okay. That's interesting.
Otherwise, it went well. The whole day went good.
Yeah, no, like everything was fine. Other than the fact that, actually, that's not even true. Like my sister actually like lost her like the keys to get into the house, and so I know she just like misplaced. Like it was in her bag, and then like her bag, the type of handbag that she has, it's not a zipper. It just like kind of you clasp it together.
Okay.
And so she must have lost it somewhere along the way.
Bro.
I don't know like how we didn't hear it because they're pretty big keys. Like I would have thought that we would have heard something drop, but we just kind of had to backtrack and like go from like we parked here and then we walked from here to the Canberra markets, and then she only took out her like credit card once, or her debit card once, just to buy some kombucha from this specific store, and then track it down from there. And we went back to.
Did you find it?
No.
No?
No, we didn't. So
Bro.
basically we had to do like, deduction and then just like find like exactly where we went, but like we couldn't find it. And then she had to call her roommate, and like we went to the library, like the ANU library, and like got it, and we got it, and it was fine. Like it's fine. Like I'm sure she got it sorted, but it was just like she was stressed out, and then we were like stressed out, like oh shit, like we're gonna try to find it, blah blah blah, and then that was that, and then I had to get on the road and then go and like pick up the bike from my sister's boyfriend's mum's parents' place that I'm borrowing for a bit.
Okay, so how did your sister get back to their apartment?
Well, we went to her roommate at the library and just borrowed hers.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a whole conundrum. Like, it was like Mother's Day was like fine. Like, I guess it's like, the most important thing is that we're spending time together.
Right.
I guess it's something that's like, it's also just like another day, right? It's like, not in that sense, in the sense like, sometimes it's just bound to be conflict.
Yeah.
Just because it happens on Mother's Day versus another day, like I don't necessarily think that it's just a part of life.
Yeah.
So,
I don't even know if like if I didn't acknowledge Mother's Day, like when I call my mom, dude, like we're so like emotionally tense that like.
Okay. In
I'm
what
like,
way? In what way?
I'm just like it's just like kind of awkward. Like for example, like the classic Asian thing where like parents don't like say I love you.
Yeah. Okay.
And like my parents are kind of like that, and like when I call them, it's just like. Oh, happy Mother's Day! Or
So-
I don't even say that, bro. I literally
Tell
just,
this. Tell the situation for our viewers, because like obviously your parents speak to you in Mandarin, right?
Right.
But you respond in English.
Right.
So like, I don't know. Because my parents grew up speaking to me in English, so I don't know that experience other than like one time I saw it at this restaurant, this Chinese restaurant one time, and I was like, yo, okay, what is going on? But like, I don't know. How is your experience of that?
Oh, like the language thing?
Yeah.
Dude, it's totally normal to me. Like growing up, like my parents just grew up speaking Mandarin to me, and then because it's their first language, and like I grew up speaking English to them because it's my first language, and like they understand.
Is there any language barrier there?
Sometimes I feel like when I rant, I speak really fast.
Okay.
And especially when I'm like emotional, I speak, and I'm like just like going out and like with like words, and I'm like.
Yeah.
Did they even understand what I'm saying? Cause like they're just like, cause they'll respond or like just nod their head, and then like they get the gist, but like I don't think they actually get it, cause like there's some like barrier in comprehension with like the second language.
Okay.
It's like they're pretty fluent, but
Okay.
yeah. So sometimes I'm like, I don't even know if they understood what I'm saying, but whatever. And then
Do your
sometimes,
parents ever speak English? Like your dad would have to, right?
yeah, at least back here I have like in like daily work and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the States, but at home, like it's just. I speak English, they speak Mandarin, and like I understand everything they say. And if I don't, I'll be like, I don't know what that means.
Okay.
But
So what are the intense parts that you have talking with your mom?
oh, it's not like super intense. It's just like there's like a comment. I don't know if like you've experienced either. I know your mom, or maybe that was Zoe, but like Asian parents just like express love really awkwardly.
Yeah, okay.
And they don't say it very verbally. They do it a
yeah.
lot through actions.
100%.
So-
My dad is. I think my dad is like more categorized into like what your parents are. Like
Yeah.
my mom, I think she was like. We won't open up the can hole in this episode, but my mom really tried to like just break that mold of like intergenerational. Like okay, like she grew up. Her parents never said I love you. It's just not a thing.
Right.
They express it through actions, and they express it through what they did. It's
Yeah,
like,
me too.
They literally. My grandpa, my parents my mom came from Vietnam. They're from Saigon in the south, and like he was one of the organizers of the boat, and then got the boat refurbished, and then 6 days through. And then to Indonesia, and then in the refugee camps. It's like my mom kind of recognizes that now she's older and she's in her mid-50s. It's like, okay, like they loved us. So, that she just recognizes it in their actions. But I think it's something where like, I don't know what it's like in other Asian households. But like, I think maybe it's kind of rare for my mom. She told us, she's told us like, she wanted to break that mold of like, normalize it for her to say.
Yeah, that's great.
So something
That's
that we try
great.
to do like all the time, if not every day.
That's great. Yeah.
But yeah, I can totally understand. My dad is like, it doesn't come out of him, and we have to really claw it out of him. It's like, Dad, like
I love you, bro.
It's like I'll be leaving. Like me and my sister will be like, like he would be dropping us off, and we're like, Dad, I love you, and he'll be like. He's just like
He doesn't say it back?
no, he just kind of okay. So like you might have to be like, Dad, said I love you. And he's like, oh, I love you too. You know what I mean? It's like, you gotta fucking, like, you gotta claw it out of him.
That's worse than, like, you telling your girl, be like, babe, I love you. He's like, you're like, babe, I said I love you. You're like, I love you.
Yeah. So, I don't know, it's hard because, you know, my dad is not a big conversationalist. And like, I guess it's one of those things where I'm slowly learning to accept him for who he is.
Yeah.
And it's been a long struggle for a long time. Like, I won't even lie. But it's something where, like, you know, me and my sister were talking about this recently. It's like, dude, just remember, like, you know, Dad grew up in the 60s and 70s, like rural Malaysia. Like, you know, a lot of these things that you, in a lot of ways that you want him to be a good parent to you, like be a good dad and ask you, you know, certain things about your life, your relationships, so forth and so forth. It's like, he never really had that.
Right.
And it's like, we forget that English is my dad's second language because we speak in English to him.
Right.
But it's like, you know, sometimes you need a little, like, you got to give him a little bit of time. Like, I was like to him, like, Dad, I'm going to the State of Origin with some friends. And I'm trying to, like, probe him, like, trying to, like, gently, you know, lead him in the conversation.
Yeah.
I'm like, Dad, I'm going to the State of Origin with some friends. And he's like, like, he's waiting. I'm like, almost like, in that moment, I almost got mad. And I was like, the next thing is like, who are you going with? You know, like I was like in my head, I was like trying to like guide him. Like obviously the next question is like, who are you going with? But he took like 5 seconds. He's like, oh, like, and he like takes a bit to process. And I'm like, I don't know whether, like, I'm confused whether he's like trying to like, dude, he's lived in Australia for over 40 years. Like, I don't really know what's going in his head, but he's like, oh, like 5 seconds go by and he's like, who are you going with? And I'm like, oh, yes, that's the answer that I wanted. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going with Eddie and like a bunch of our other friends. I'm like, yeah, okay. And my sister was like, dude, like ESL, English second language, bro. You got to give him some time to like.
But is it
to
ESL or is
I don't
it like,
know.
Or is it like
he doesn't know what to say.
He's thinking of like the socially like what you want him to say, versus like what he actually would want to say.
Okay.
Right? He's like, Jeremy wants me to ask him like who he's going with.
Yeah.
Right? But in reality, like, I am thinking like, what's the point of going to this game? Like, I don't like,
yes.
or like things like that, right? Right? He actually like is thinking something else.
Yeah.
But he's like, for the sake of this relationship,
Yeah.
I will.
He's
ask
gonna
him
try.
I will ask him the socially accepted question instead of what I'm actually thinking.
Maybe that's what it is, bro. I don't know.
Bro, 'cause my dad does that. My dad will like,
Yeah.
my dad like, you know, I know what's going on in his head, but he'll like.
You do know?
I feel like
How do you know? You can't possibly know, bro.
I know him like a book, bro.
No way, bro. I don't believe you, but go on.
Anyways, I think I know him really well. I just know that, like, you know, what he's thinking and stuff like that. And he just, like, tries to put on, like, this, like, for example, like, I know it because, like, he avoids topics that are, like, controversial.
Yeah.
He doesn't ask me about my career. He doesn't ask me about climbing. He doesn't ask me about, like, things that he knows may create controversy.
Can you just check your mic's still running, bro?
Yeah, it's still running.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, he doesn't. He like, avoids asking about topics that he knows are controversial.
Okay.
Because he wants to like create a socially safe environment. Like he doesn't want to fight, right? Like similar to like, your dad wants to create a socially like pleasant experience with you when he's like, you know, with you. So in reality, he's like, I know he's like, you know, I know he's gonna go travel this place. I know he's gonna go rock climbing. Like, I don't want to ask him what he's doing this weekend because I know, you know, he's like tweaking on the inside, bro. I know.
Okay.
I'm like, it's okay, you know.
So you think my dad is that 5 second delay is like option A or option B?
Yeah, dude,
option A. Who are you going with? Option B.
I actually think, cause yeah, dude, I bet his English is fine. Like that's ESL. My dad's also ESL.
Yeah.
But I don't think they struggle to like express with that much latency. Like I think they know what to say. They're just thinking about, they know how to say. They're just thinking about what to say.
Okay.
I don't know. That's what I think.
Man, I don't know.
That's what I think.
I need a deep dive. That guy's going to be on the pod one. I'm trying to like, dude, I'm trying so hard to make conversation with him, bro. You don't understand. Like, anyways, we won't.
No, I struggle with my dad too these days just because, like, there's nothing to talk about with me and him. Like, I'm like, if we're going to avoid everything controversial.
Yeah.
We're gonna avoid like 80% of my life, bro.
Yeah.
Thank God my sister had a baby because that's all like we can. Worst comes to worst, we resort to talking about like my niece. Like,
okay.
And
what about work though? Can you talk about work?
He would prefer if I was like a doctor or lawyer. Okay. So it's like, you know, like we don't really go that way. He briefly asked about it. I'm just like, it's fine. But I can't even get into the nuances, right? Even with my mom, like I'm like, oh, like, you know, work is good. Like, so, like I can't even get into like if I talk about problems with them, which are like every job has problems, and like that's the whole point of a job, like to learn things, right?
Yeah.
When I talk about problems, they're gonna think like problem equals issue equals Eddie not living like good life equals future failure instead of like, and then so like the only thing I do tell them about is like, oh wow, we had a great financial year with like this much, we made this much money, and like we had this much success, and I have this employee who like gives me like. I have like an employee who does really well, so it gives me like social status as like an employer and a boss and stuff. So like I only can tell them about good things, right?
Yeah, okay.
And when I tell them about bad things, it's just like they're like, oh, like, I knew I was right about that thing.
Oh no.
When I worked in like finance, right, like a job that they approved of, I could tell them about kind of bad things and struggles, and they would be like, oh, like it's fine, just like stick through it. Like this job is so much worth it.
Yep.
But it's like it's just different now. So it's like we just. Yeah, we briefly talk about it, and like I tell them about good things, and then they'll be like, they'll brush it off or whatever. I mean, like I'm gonna be a little dramatic too. I feel like I'm not giving them enough credit. Like,
bro,
it's like so much trauma that not trauma, but like so much like
you can say trauma.
I don't think it's trauma. That's kind of dramatic. It's just like a lot of complexity. That cannot be just expressed so simply. That like it makes the only way to like kind of like. That like it just makes it sound like I'm super. It's like it sounds a bit more dramatic, right?
Right. Okay.
I don't know if I explained it that well, but anyways,
it reminded me of like this dumb meme. I don't know if you've seen it before. Maybe not. It might be an Australian thing. It's like don't lose your pen. Lose pen equals can't go to school. Can't do homework. Can't do homework. Therefore equals poverty. Poverty equals homeless. Homeless equals death. It's like don't lose your pen.
That's hilarious. That's
so
hilarious.
Just some dumb shit.
It kind of just shows how stupid that logic is, right? Like. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, like, it's like, my mom is like definitely a lot easier to talk to, I think. But she doesn't do like the socially. She's actually the opposite. She doesn't what? She doesn't do like this. She if she has option A, which is what she's actually thinking, versus option B, which is the socially acceptable response. She'll go with option A and just be like, I'm gonna say what I think, which causes issues, right? So it's either like what is better to actually talk about what you think and like talk about the hot issue, or to just hide it in some like social facade for the time being, and like the issue is still underlying. Right.
Okay. Dude, it's hard. Like,
what do you think? Option A or option B?
Obviously, I don't know your parents.
Option A is going to create tense relationships and tense conversations.
Yeah.
Option B is going to say pleasant conversations and pleasant relationships, but it's like kind of like unsustainable and fake.
Can you give me an example, a concrete example, so I can kind of
like my mom, like, and
for
example, the reason I don't like all my mom sometimes because. Like, for example, our mother is like we get into like arguments and fights because we like talk about the actual hot button issue, which is like my future, my career. With my dad, like I'll call him and it'll be like pleasant, but it'll be so fake.
Yeah.
It's like we just avoid the topic and like we just talk about things that like
talk about Sarah's kid.
Huh?
It's like the button to talk about Sarah's kid.
Yeah, talk about Sarah's kid, or talk about Donald Trump and politics, or like talk about like like
Donnie T.
And sometimes like when we run on those conversations, we talk about stuff that we don't even care about. He'll be like, did you see the football game last week? And I was like, bro, you don't even watch football, bro. Like,
bro, I had that with my dad literally last night, bro. He was like, look, honestly, I got to give more credit because my dad is really
trying.
He's really trying. Because he doesn't know anything about. Oh, it's fine. Like, obviously, I get like annoyed because I'm like, I want to bond with you. I want to watch the footy with you. I want you to like be interested in the same ththings, sports that I'm interested in. It was like last night, like the Roosters and Bulldogs were playing, and like he's honestly trying. Like the week before. My dad was like, all right, like my mum was like, oh, like Dad's gonna take you to a pub, like you can get food and then watch the footy. I was like, okay, like sounds good. Like
so the House of Tong.
Exactly. Anyways, we won't talk about that right now. But like my dad messaged me last night, and the Bulldogs and Roosters were playing, and he messaged me. And was like, he's like, what are you doing tonight? I was like, just watching the footy, and then he's like, oh, okay. I gotta get my phone. It doesn't matter. Basically, he was like, Roosters are winning. Who do you support? I was like, I don't really care who wins. Like, I just like Stephen. I don't support either of those teams. I was just like, I just like Stephen Crichton, who's the Bulldogs captain, and this other guy named Spencer Leniu, who's number 8 for Roosters. And I wrote it all out, and then he just sent the thumbs up emoji. That was already there. It's like not even like half a second after I was like he asked me about the footy, and so I'm trying to engage him and be like, I don't actually care that much about who wins, but like I like these players and that's why I'm watching. And it just get a thumbs up straight away, bro. And it's just like, it's like, okay, like I guess he tried because he was like, he turned on the footy to check who's winning.
Right.
When I'm actually like, it's one of those things.
I
where
get
it's
that sometimes though. Like I will do that with my friends.
Okay.
Like where I'm like, I know he's interested in this thing. I'm like semi-interested.
Yeah.
I'll like pull it up, screenshot, or like a reel too, right? It's like
Okay.
a reel. Like, you send somebody a reel. It's like
Okay.
kind of your way of like being like, hey, I'm like kind of thinking about you, and like here's
Yeah.
something we could talk about, even though it's not like.
Yeah. Okay.
So like I get it. I get where it's coming from, and but those relationships are usually like not my best friends,
Yeah. Okay.
right? Like those are like kind of like I don't know, which is why I think like even though my mom and I have like conflicting conversations a lot,
Yeah.
like I feel like they're actually like real, like because like we talk
Yeah.
about the things that are actually on our mind, whereas like with my dad, it's like it's just kind of fake, bro. I'm just like, this is like so much non-content. Like it's like I don't know, yeah.
What are the conversations about? Give me like a.
Like my mom, like we talk about like she's like, okay, like hey, like we should buy a business together.
Okay.
And like let's talk about that. Or like, hey, like you know, cooking or like life and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then my dad is like, hey, like what'd you eat for breakfast? And I'm like, oh, like he's like, oh, like you eat that every day. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, did you see that video of Ellie? Like, it's like
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'll be like, oh, like, and then they'll talk about Ellie, and I'll be like, oh, like, did you see that tariff that Donald Trump put out? So my mom and I will never talk about stuff like that. We'll talk about my life, like future, like we're like we have like we're arguing about stuff because we have conflicts, right? Where it's like, she wants me to do this for my career, I want to do this.
Yeah.
She like this X, Y, and Z. So it's like real, like sustained, constant. We like both like have opinions about.
Yeah.
My dad is just like. Press the button, bro. Did you see that video of Ellie?
Yeah.
Did you see that tariff that Donald Trump put out?
Yeah. Okay.
And then worst comes to worst, did you see that football game?
It's like automated answers. Is it like automated questions or? Bro, I had this experience with my dad, like literally. So my dad's been like he's been trying harder, and so he's been checking up on me, like, he'd be calling me like at least once a day, or like once every 2 days, and like the other day he like asked me like, oh, like, what'd you get up to today? And I was like, okay. Then he was asking me a question, and then like he finished asking his questions, and like, dude, our conversations never go over 5 minutes. Okay. And then he was like, and he just kind of pondered to himself, like, oh no, have I asked that already? I was like, bro, like, is this like a grocery list? Like he's got like the questions pre-planned what he's gonna ask me. I left that like, I was like, dude, I was obviously like, I know he's trying. And like I'm trying to empathize that like he's not a conversationalist and like English is his second language and like he's really trying. Right. But on the other hand, I'm like, bro, like, dude, there's like a grocery list. Like he literally pondered. He was like, oh, I can see him like thinking like doing his facial expressions like, is that all I have left to ask you? And I was just like, oh my god.
That's tough.
It's hard. It's a hard world out here.
It takes time though. It takes time. And I think like, honestly, like having like the last, like, it's funny, like my dad and I, like, even though we like, first like, there's one time when like, I was talking to my mom and I was like, oh, like, dad doesn't know that I like do something important in my life. I was like, dad doesn't know about my partner or something like that. And like, dad doesn't know like this thing about me. Yeah. And my mom was like, what do you think? Of course, like, you guys never talk about anything like of serious content. Like you guys just joke and dick around all the time. And I'm like, okay. It is kind of true where it's like, like not even like the social accepted conversation, but like, even at home, like we just like, we banter around and like play jokes on each other and pranks on each other, like, which is like fun. Yeah. But we like, it's like somewhat of a way to avoid a serious conversation. Yeah. Okay. It's also like a reminder of like our affection for each other in ways that like isn't verbal. Yeah. Okay. For example, we have like pranks where it's like, it's kind of like this childish prank, but like, we have a couple childish pranks. Okay. But like, I'm trying to think about which one to tell you. Okay. Like one childish prank is like when my dad gets ready to go to sleep. It was when I was a kid. Yeah. I actually sometimes still fake. I still like, give him a little fake out today. Yeah, okay. As an adult. Okay, I'm listening. Keep going. When he gets ready to go to sleep, he like, puts his blanket. He's like, it's all tucked in. I walk up. I'm like, go to sleep after him. I walk into his room. And I was like, when I was a kid, I would just yank all his sheets off. What the hell are you, bro? Okay. Like, what are you doing?
Okay.
I was like, because it's like, like I was just so nice and warm in my sheets.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, but it's just like, he's like, I'm gonna come get you later, bro. Like, when you go to bed, like, I'm gonna come get you. And I was like, this is like a little joke that we have.
It's kind of cute, but
it is cute. It is cute. And then so like, it's kind of our way. Like, I don't actually yank him today, but I'll just like fake him out. I'll be like, I'm gonna yank this. Like it's like our way of like, nostalgically remind each other of affection. And it's just like kind of funny, like joke we played on each other as a kid. But yeah, I think like having those like those little things to use as like reminders of affection. That's nostalgic. Yeah. But it also takes time to build, right? I got to build up with him for like my entire childhood, and today we still have it as like a tool to like remind each other. Even when like we don't talk about serious stuff. So I mean, like eventually, like it seems stale right now with your dad, but I think it's just like get the reps in, bro. Like work at it. I think it's just like any other relationship.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think like I'm definitely still building, like only just starting to build that with my dad. Like, I guess he's always been like super physically present, but like not really emotionally.
Right.
It's like we can have dinners and like we'll have dinner like every Sunday, but like we don't really talk about anything, It's like honestly some of those dinners are like hard to get through because it's just like why am I
know exactly
why am I here?
bro.
It's like I'm spending time with him and like I want to receive his love. I want to feel it and I want to just spend time with my dad, but it's also like it's just so hard for him to just start a conversation that's like not anything about work. When I was like still working at the job that I just resigned, it was like he was like the only topic of conversation would be like, how many shifts did you do this week? And like, are you gonna pick up more? And I'm like, Dad, like we can talk about anything else other than like it's like it's just so frustrating.
Does your dad have hobbies?
Only badminton, bro.
Badminton, yeah. So that's how you guys started bonding.
Yeah, so that's what so like I went and played badminton with him like last year sometime. I played once and I was like, okay, like it was actually a really nice experience just to like he was like showing me like he's like you're holding the grip wrong, like you need to like hit it this way. And like that was actually a nice experience because like I just never had him there when I was a teenager, kind of like showing me like, this is how you do stuff, like this is how you mow the lawn or like fix the car. Like I just never had that. And so it was a nice experience and it was a nice bonding moment. But yeah, it's just something where
that's why I think like having hobbies is so important as like not only like individually, but also just like it's just another shared experience that's outside of your career.
Yeah.
Right? Like my dad doesn't really have that many hobbies either, so it's like it's like seems like calculated. Oh, should I start a hobby just to bond with this person? It's like it doesn't need to be that calculated, but it's also a little bit where it's like, hey, like we don't have much to talk about. Like it's probably because like dude, you don't have any hobbies, like so. Like there's kind of like a very little to bond with you about besides like the thing that everybody does, which is work. And the thing that everybody talks about, which is like gossip of like your family members and stuff. And then like politics. It's like so if we had like some hobbies, like actually, occasionally my dad likes biking, so I like asking him about biking. And like, but if we both did biking, we'd have so much to talk about, right? So I don't know. I think like it's like. Not to like get off the tangent about hobbies, but like I'm a really big person about hobbies, and like that's kind of like why like also like a reason to have hobbies is just like